Hi, my name is Hector Perez, and I'll be doing a video on immediate feedback for TE 625, my Tech Equity webinar by Hector Perez. So I want to start my video by talking about looking at this video, inclusive teaching through equitable grading and feedback. So it's a webinar from Caltech, and I was really interested in the part where they talked about some quotes, where they were talking about some good things that students had to say when it came to feedback and the transparency that it creates an equitable experience where students are able to have clear understanding of teacher expectations, opening up a direct lane to student learning, improving and becoming better and more equitable.
So here's feedback I've gotten on this. So there's a few quotes here from students, and you can see that I'm doing what they've asked me to do, which is to spread the word about this practice to my colleagues. And I have this third bullet point I almost didn't add because I'm tooting my own horn here, which I wouldn't typically want to do in this context, but I thought it'd be useful to everyone to see that the student is focused on my feedback and they're indicating they weren't stressed in my class, and that enabled them to engage in the pages of feedback that I'm giving them without feeling this anxiety of it's a series of tricks I've set up and they have to they have to figure out the tricks to get the A that they're looking for in my class. They don't have to worry about the grade. They can worry about their work as writers, which is where I want their attention to be. My observation using grading contracts at Caltech and the courses I teach is that students really are engaged in the substance of feedback and they're keen to iterate on their work, which is what I'm looking for. When I sit down to grade, it's less tedious. It's not less work because I'm still giving them lots of feedback, but I don't have to worry about, oh, how do I explain to this student why I think their work is a B plus and not an A minus? So that's helpful for me as well, I think. It lets me focus on the meaningful work of teaching. It allows students who are really into the class to go above and beyond in exciting ways, and it also creates high standards for students who are not as invested in making sure they have a lower stress but still meaningful course experience with me. And it has worked well with students who are struggling during the term as well, which is important to me. Next slide. Is there a next slide?
So I like the points that she brought up about how there's no guessing game for what does an A look like. She gives the feedback to students and she allows them to work and improve on their work and their learning. So any type of work or any type of lesson that people get into, we don't just work as we get it once the first time and we're experts at it. Something that we need to practice at, something that we need to take criticism and use that criticism to improve and get better. So providing that those types of things can create an equitable experience. And I just want to talk about how using technology can help us as well too. So the practice failing students are the feedback is done without utilizing technology, since it's done in a manner that does not promote accessibility and equity. Students waiting for teachers to provide feedback can be harmful to students' grades. Sometimes they have difficult home lives or difficult things going on after school where they have to go run to catch the bus. So they may struggle when it comes to getting that feedback one on one at lunchtime or after school. So it's important that students receive it on the work that they submit and they can use that feedback to improve and grow as students and learners. The idea of getting good feedback allows students to worry less about what is necessary to pass a good grade, and they allows them to focus more on the learning as mentioned in the webinar as well too. It is a process to give useful feedback immediately as papers pile up. So as an educator, it becomes difficult when you have to give feedback and you get papers getting piled up and you have to grade them all and return them back to students, and then students, by the time they get that, the feedback to them seems useless because we've moved on to a new lesson or a new topic and they're not able to grow and improve on their work that they did. Students will typically receive feedback too late, so the issue is if we're giving it to them in an untimely manner, they may not keep the idea. So this creates a gap. So if students are able to take it home and get feedback from a tutor or get feedback from parents or have more backing at home when it comes to these types of topics that are being taught at school, it'll create a bigger gap in education as students who aren't receiving that feedback from their educator continue to fall behind. And wonder what is necessary to pass and what is necessary to reach the teacher's expectations and the learning expectations. Um, so the demographic of students this issue is affecting predominantly high school students who are considered low income, students with disability, and English language learners. So as I was mentioning earlier, students who are able to go home to tutors or have two parents at home that understand and went through the through schooling and may have a college degree. Those types of parents will be able to provide more backing and support for students at home if the teachers are lacking in feedback. But students who go home and have to go take care of other siblings or have sports to play aren't going to have the time or resources in order to get those types of tutors or that type of help. So it's important that as educators, we provide that feedback quickly in order to provide equitable experiences for students so that they all get what they need in order to learn all the same that is necessary. So the research that's supporting my webinar, I used the effects of immediate feedback on student learning in mathematics. The author did a study where 243 students participated, and they compared immediate feedback to a more traditional structure with the pen and paper. So the impact was various teaching methods to measure different achievement and engagement in mathematics. So within the different feedbacks online, whether it was technology, and whether it was more scaffolded work as well, the data suggested at the end of the study that learning significantly was improved when students were on computer supported homework. So those types of homeworks were on math. If you type in an answer, it'll tell you whether you got it wrong or right. And they usually support with additional practice problems that ask for the same topic but with different numbers so students can get a better understanding and feeling of what is necessary in order to succeed in those classes and on the homework and assignments. The next one was immediate feedback to student and student learning. So this one was a study done which they found the impact of high quality feedback on low achieving students. So in order to connect equity and the idea of receiving immediate feedback is the students were seen to improve as the quality of feedback improved as well too. So this kind of points to the idea that we can create wonderful lessons and create equitable learning experiences, but the main proponent in students growing and building on their learning includes receiving immediate feedback so that students can make the necessary steps in order to improve and grow. So they identified three conditions. So first, they noticed that students are exemplars of good in performance. So they need to know what it looks like to perform well. So if they see a good example, they can reach that example as well. So like if doing a project, students can need to see an example of that project in order to understand what are the requirements to reach for that goal, as opposed to creating it where it's abstract and students have to guess and have to seek outside help that may not be available to them in order to reach those goals. Secondly, they provide explicit information about how their current performance relates to expectations for a good performance. So being clear, going back to being transparent and allowing students to understand and know what's necessary. And then lastly, students provided with information about how to close the gap between their current performance and a good performance. So it's not only just providing general feedback, but specifically to students so that they know that if they're struggling, if they're, which they may know, unfortunately, that they have steps that they need to take, but sometimes they don't know what steps are needed in order to improve. So if it's clear and explicit, students can see what their work is at and where they need to go from there and can reach those goals much more clearly and supported by the teacher providing that equitable experience. The good thing is things like that can be done online, which I'll get to in the next slide as well with the solutions. Next one was 5 research-based tips for providing students with meaningful feedback. So it said to be as specific as possible, sooner the better, address advancement towards a goal and involve students in the process. So allowing students to be a part of that process when it comes to what is necessary to pass, what will not be successful. So giving students that clear idea so that they can be best supported and be able to know where they need to grow and do to be to do well in the class. Um, the next thing is some solutions right here. So actionable steps for improvement, utilizing automated grading systems. So types of things where students on Google Forms, the teacher can provide specific questions and then assign specific answers. So when students do informal assessments or exit slips, they can submit their work like that, and then they can see real time the correct answer that they need in order to pass. The next thing is incorporate peer feedback with discussion boards. So allowing students to, when they're working on maybe a project or a writing piece, that they can post that to discussion boards like we've been doing in class, and they can get critique and real-time feedback from their peers who are also working on that assignment too. So that allows students to see one another's work and allows the class to bridge that gap. So as students to see each other's work, they're not left in the dark to certain help that a student may be getting. So if a student goes to a tutor and they notice something useful on the project, students can see that type of rough draft work and maybe take ideas from other students and kind of collaborate in a virtual sense where they're using the online and bridging that equitable gap. Students can share a Google Doc to collaborate and provide feedback to each other's work. So comments can be left on Google Docs, so they don't have to write over a person's work or edit it, but they can just provide comments and feedback, and students can take it where they want to with that. Allows other students who may be doing well to help other students who maybe struggle, and can provide for real good pairings as a teacher. So utilizing that idea of providing immediate feedback, utilizing that peer work and creating that sense of community in the class, and utilizing the tools that are available to us online so students don't have to be handing papers or computers to one another. Um, Apps like Delta Math, as a math teacher, I like that one because it grades automatically and it provides extra questions. And there's a plethora of topics available to educators and for students. Next thing is allow students to see multiple examples and representations online. So just post as much work as possible. Let students who are absent see that. Maybe if students are missing a lot of school because they've been dealing with sickness or issues at home, or they do athletics that pull them out for various times, posting stuff online will be helpful because it allows people at home who may want to support their child, and it allows the students to create that work ethic where they check what's necessary online. So Q&A. So how does immediate feedback benefit students in their learning process? Students who provide immediate feedback can make corrections and do what they need to do in order to better their work. So that it's very useful for students to receive that feedback and grow upon their previous work. And it creates a much more equitable and balanced experience for students in the class receiving their education. What are some effective methods to utilize in your classroom to facilitate the needs of students for immediate feedback? So, peer-to-peer work, clear rubrics, good examples, just getting online submissions with clear answers. So the various different things can be done in order to provide that immediate feedback to students and without having to rigorously go through tons of papers and pass those back to students. So minimizing that workload by utilizing our apps online benefits both educators and students in the idea of bridging that equitable gap. What challenges may arise amidst incorporating technology and immediate feedback? So just various technology issues, but working through those and, having different Chromebooks and different chargers on deck for students that may be having issues with their technology or their Chromebook. So always being prepared as an educator will help those students who may be struggling or may not have everything they need on them on campus, and helps if a student's having a rough day, helps just make it better. Some additional resources. So 14 ways technology supports a culture of feedback. So that was a good article that I saw as well too. And then 6 digital tools for giving feedback to students. So with with these different graphics as well. And then lastly, my citation slide. So really appreciate you for watching my slide, and thank you all so much.